In the street view of Baidu Maps, I saw my grandmother, who passed away many years ago. The little old lady was hunched over, watching others play chess with a smile on her face. The midsummer sunlight shone on her, and she was wearing that faded light blue shirt, as if she had never left me. The time noted at the bottom of the screen was 2015. That summer, 8 years ago, she hadn't yet been brutally murdered. My tears instantly fell. Grandma, it turns out we've been apart for so long. Grandma, you should have lived a long, long life. Before the autumn of 2015, I believed the world was a beautiful place. My grandmother and I, in a tenement building, surrounded by familiar neighbors. In the summer, we'd cool off in the alleyways. And in the winter, we'd drag chairs outside to bask in the sun. Occasionally, some elderly men would organize chess matches, and Grandma would go over to watch. Even though she didn't really understand the game, she loved to join in the liveliness. Our living environment seemed so peaceful and harmonious. Until that night. As usual, I finished evening self-study and said goodbye to a good friend at a crossroad. She went left while I went straight. My backpack was heavy, weighing down on my shoulders. Suddenly, the streetlights flickered a few times before going completely dark. Startled, I misstepped and stepped into a puddle. Panicking, I reached out to steady myself against the wall, but felt someone grab me from behind and drag me backward. I struggled frantically, screaming, "Help! Help!" He freed one hand and clamped it tightly over my mouth. The entire building was pitch black, and no one answered. Then I remembered the city government had introduced a policy for free movies, and our neighborhood had just received free tickets for tonight. Dogs began barking one after another, but they were trapped behind security doors, unable to break free. The grip restraining me tightened, like iron pliers. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't break free. My neck and cheeks burned with pain, and the clothes at my waist were pulled up as he stuffed a cloth into my mouth. Then, he tore open my school uniform shirt. I struggled wildly, knocking over a row of bicycles. They clattered loudly in the darkness. One of the bicycles crashed onto his back, causing him to pause for a moment. Seizing the opportunity, I jumped up and tried to run, but I hadn't gone more than a few steps before he kicked me in the back of my knee. Then, he dragged me back by my hair. The dogs barked even more frantically. Outside the alley, cars rushed by and fireworks soared into the sky from the city center. All of it completely drowned out my faint struggles. The man wore a mask and a hat. In the chaos, I reached out and scratched his face. The mask fell off. It was actually the uncle from upstairs. Under the bright moonlight, his eyes flickered with panic before he quickly pulled the mask back up. My mouth was gagged, so I couldn't speak. I could only look at him pleadingly. "Uncle, why are you doing this to me? Uncle, don't you have a daughter too?" He stared at the redness in the corners of my eyes, and the panic in his gaze quickly turned to viciousness. Then, he impatiently unbuckled his belt and yanked off my school uniform pants. Footsteps approached. A beam of bright flashlight light swayed toward us. I heard my grandmother's voice. "Why hasn't Jiang Yan come home yet?" The neighbor uncle suddenly froze, then dragged me like a dead dog into the shadows of the bicycle shed. My limbs were pinned and tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I struggled with all my might, but he held me tightly, leaving me unable to move. I whimpered, trying to make sounds with my throat, but the noise was too faint, drowned out by the bursts of fireworks soaring into the sky. Grandma stood at the entrance of the alley, looking up at the fireworks in the distance. The dazzling light cascaded down like flowing sand, bursting into brilliant colors across the sky. Meanwhile, I was pinned against the narrow bicycle shed by the uncle from upstairs, his heavy panting in my ears and his scorching heat against my back. The fireworks stopped. Grandma withdrew her gaze and sat down at the entrance of the alley, waiting for me to come home from school. I struggled like a madwoman, my elbow hitting his chest. He groaned in pain. I screamed with all my might, but the sound was muffled by the cloth. My brain felt starved of oxygen, and I could only produce faint, raspy cries of fear. But Grandma didn't hear me. She just took out her old-fashioned phone, pressed a few buttons as if checking the time. This child. After another moment, she slowly began to walk back. The bright beam of her flashlight almost shone into the corner where I was hidden several times, but she never noticed. She was about to pass right by me. Tears poured down my face as I whimpered and struggled. only for the neighbor uncle to clamp his hand around my neck. My breath was completely cut off. Stars danced before my eyes. The next second, Grandma yelled into her phone. I live in Building 7 of Baosong Community. At the bicycle shed by the entrance. Someone is trying to rape my granddaughter. The restraint behind me suddenly loosened. I jumped up and tried to run. My school uniform pants tangled around my legs. I fell to the ground. The contents of my backpack spilled out, revealing colorful little items. Meal card, small mirror, bus card, and a fruit knife. At the same time, the neighbor uncle caught up with me, grabbed my throat, and slapped me hard across the face. Grandma stumbled forward, hitting him with her flashlight again and again. Jiang Yan, run! Grandma was shoved to the ground, her head hitting the metal frame of the bicycle shed with a dull thud. For a while, she didn't get up. I heard her faint voice. Jiang Yan, run! The uncle released me, stood up, and walked toward her. He was tall and burly, closing in step by step, his shadow completely engulfing Grandma. I picked up the fruit knife. He bent down, reached out, and grabbed Grandma by the neck. Grandma kicked her legs, struggling in vain. I raised the knife and stabbed down hard. But he quickly turned around, grabbed my wrist, pried open my fingers, and snatched the knife from me. He raised his hand and stabbed toward my chest. Grandma, with strength I didn't know she had, sat up, wrapped her arms tightly around his leg, and bit down. The knife missed its mark by an inch, stabbing into my arm instead. Blood splattered everywhere. The neighbor uncle cursed, kicked Grandma in the shoulder, and raised the knife to strike down. I lunged forward, trying to stop him. The fruit knife pierced through my fingers and stabbed into Grandma's neck. Blood gushed out. Grandma's eyes widened in an instant. She opened her mouth as if to speak. She raised her hand, as if trying to touch my cheek. But her hand only lifted a little, before falling weakly again. Excruciating pain spread from my fingers to my chest. I knelt on the ground, desperately pressing my hands against Grandma's neck. But the blood kept flowing, spilling through my fingers. It wouldn't stop. Why wouldn't the bleeding stop? I let out a painful howl. The dogs began barking again in unison. A huge shadow fell over me from behind. The shadow raised its hand, the arm holding the knife aimed straight at my back. The wail of police sirens rang out. I had that dream again. In the dream, I was back in the autumn when I was 17. The year Grandma died protecting me. I wiped away my tears and sat up. My phone screen was still on the street view of Baidu Maps. In the summer of 2015, Grandma was hunched over, watching the old neighbors play chess. That was the only remaining image of Grandma. All these years, she had barely taken any photos. Staring at my phone, I found myself crying again without realizing it. A scalding tear fell on the phone screen. As I reached out to wipe it away, I felt an irresistible force pulling me, dragging me into the phone. I snapped my eyes open. But my surroundings were not my small apartment in 2023. The buckwheat pillow Grandma had sun-dried, the quilt that smelled of old-fashioned soap, the pajamas that were a bit too long. I spread out my hands, my 10 fingers were clean and smooth, without the deep scar left from gripping the knife that year. This was Grandma's and my home in 2015. The alarm clock rang loudly. I checked the time. October 17th, 2015. The day Grandma died. It took me a long time to remember to turn off the alarm. The door pushed open. Grandma stood there, wearing an apron and smiling. I made beef and vermicelli buns for you today. Hurry up and get out of bed. Sunlight seeped through the thin curtains, illuminating her white hair. Seeing me silent, she walked in, wiped her hands on her apron, and patted my head. What's wrong? Want to sleep in a little longer? The warmth of her palm was real. I opened my arms and hugged her tightly. Tears fell silently, soaking into her pilled apron. Grandma paused, then gently patted my back. Did you have a nightmare? It's okay, dreams are the opposite of reality. Dreams are the opposite of reality. It must be true. I wiped away my tears and went to eat breakfast. The steaming beef and vermicelli buns tasted just like I remembered. What did you put in the seasoning? I asked. Grandma handed me a bowl of porridge. Chopped beef and vermicelli, scallion and ginger water, cooking oil, salt, soy sauce, and a little white pepper powder. No wonder. All those years later, no matter how many times I tried in the kitchen, I could never recreate the same buns. So, Grandma's secret ingredient was white pepper powder. The steam fogged up my eyes, and I felt like crying again. Grandma, completely unaware, stirred my bowl of plain porridge with a spoon, trying to cool it down faster. The neighborhood committee handed out movie tickets yesterday. Too bad you weren't home, or we could have gone, Grandma said. I turned to look at her, and a fragmented thought flashed through my mind. What could Jiang Yan of this time, the high school girl Jiang Yan, do to save Grandma's life? Slowly I said, the school is holding a flea market event tonight, so evening self-study is cancelled. Let's go watch a movie together. We can meet directly at the theater. Is that okay? Grandma smiled. That's wonderful. I'll wait for you at the theater entrance at 7. Do you want popcorn? I can make some and bring it. Looking at her smiling face, I smiled too. The suffocating heaviness in my chest gradually eased. Running out of time, I stuffed the last bun into my mouth, hurriedly put on my shoes and headed out. Grandma called softly, "Take your time eating. It's okay. Don't choke." Just as I was about to close the door, I stopped, turned around, and hugged the little old lady. Grandma, you have to be okay. My words were muffled by the bun in my mouth. She probably didn't hear me clearly, just smiled and patted my shoulder. Walk slowly and be careful on your way. I rushed down the stairs 2 at a time and bumped into someone at the corner. I apologized repeatedly. Sorry. She laughed. Sis Yan, you're running late too? Want a ride with my dad? I looked up sharply. It was Xijia, the girl who lived upstairs. And behind her, sitting in the driver's seat, was the man who had pinned me down in the bicycle shed, the rapist. Now, he rolled down the window and said kindly, Yan, I'm heading that way anyway. Let me give you a ride. A cold sweat broke out on my back. I forced myself to suppress the trembling in my fingers and smiled. No need. I'm meeting a friend. The car drove away. At the bus stop, I trembled uncontrollably. During lunch break, I asked the boys in my class who often skipped school to go online how they managed to sneak out. They all laughed. Jiang Yan, you're turning bad, huh? I felt a bit embarrassed. Sorry to trouble you. When no one was around, they took me to the farthest corner of the playground. A few boys took a running start, pushed off the wall, and effortlessly vaulted over. From the other side of the wall, they shouted, Jiang Yan, just like that. Jump over. We'll catch you. I imitated them, took a running start, and then my knee slammed into the wall. My fingers were scraped raw too. The only boy who hadn't climbed over, yet crouched down and patted his shoulder. Step up here. After 8 years, I couldn't remember his name anymore. My gaze fell on his name tag. Xu Xiao. Seeing me hesitate, he urged, Come on, I can handle your weight. No problem. He laced his long fingers together and let me step onto them. Then, I stepped onto his thin but resilient shoulders, which felt like young bamboo. He held my calves and stood up. I easily found myself sitting atop the wall. Suddenly, a security guard's shout came from the distance. Hey, what are you doing? Xu Xiao glanced back, quickly got up, took a running start, vaulted over the wall effortlessly, and landed on the other side, opening his arms to me. Jiang Yan, jump down. Don't be afraid. The security guard's voice grew closer. Steeling myself, I jumped down. I landed steadily in his arms. He let go of me almost immediately, then grabbed my wrist and started running. Why are you just standing there? Run! The others all headed to the internet cafe. Only Xu Xiao, hands in his pockets, stayed by my side. I walked into a supermarket and asked the sales assistant if they sold pepper spray. Before the assistant could reply, Xu Xiao spoke up. Is someone stalking you? I quickly shook my head. No. I just want to be prepared. Pepper spray was surprisingly expensive. 149 yuan. Clutching the 50 yuan bill in my hand, I tentatively asked, Can I bargain? The sales assistant looked a bit exasperated. Little girl, this is a supermarket, not a market. Disheartened, I put the spray back on the shelf. A hand reached past me and tossed the pepper spray into a shopping cart. A boy with red crew-cut hair flashed his wallet with an air of nonchalance. A thick stack of pink banknotes glittered inside. He said simply, I've got money. What else do you want? Let's get it all. He had money, but I didn't have the means to repay him. In the end, I only bought 1 bottle of pepper spray. I tried to give Xu Xiao the 50 yuan, but he pushed it back. He said, I don't want money. What kind of buns were you eating this morning? They smelled amazing. Can you bring me some sometime? I love buns too. I was taken aback. Okay, if I managed to see the sunrise tomorrow, I would do just that. I boarded the bus home. Xu Xiao got on too. I couldn't help but ask, aren't you going to the internet cafe? He grinned lazily. Aren't you going to study? Stumped, I turned to look out the window. The old, yet-to-be-demolished buildings, the glutinous rice cakes being sold along the street, the golden, fragrant osmanthus trees. All of these would disappear in the urban redevelopment 8 years later. The bus stopped. I got off, ran to the bus stop and quickly located my target. I dug a hole near the tree roots and buried my alarm clock. The alarm was already set. 9:30 p.m. tonight. The time I was dragged into the bicycle shed in the previous timeline. The alarm sound was my recording. Someone's killing people at the bicycle shed of Building 7, Biosong Community. Xu Xiao crouched beside me, puzzled. Are you playing a treasure hunt game? I hurriedly pushed the soil back and said, Yeah, I'm playing a very new game. A small stone hit the alarm clock, and it suddenly screamed hysterically. Someone's killing people at the bicycle shed of Building 7, Biosong Community. Flustered, I pulled out the alarm clock and quickly turned it off. Xu Xiao looked at me seriously, making me feel uneasy. I slowly began. Well, listen to me. Xu Xiao cut me off with a laugh. Are you playing a real-life version of Murderer? I breathed a sigh of relief. Yeah. He slung an arm around my neck, grinning with 2 dimples. Count me in, Jiang Yan. Of course, I couldn't involve him. The alarm clock and pepper spray weren't a game. They were my double insurance. But my real plan to avoid the murder was to go to the movie with everyone and return to the neighborhood together, making the monster hiding in the dark too afraid to approach me. During evening self-study that day, I spread a few books on my desk. I also unscrewed my blue, red, and black pens, pretending I was just stepping out for a moment. I even told my deskmate, if the patrolling teacher asks, just say I went to the teacher's office to ask a question. The bell for the end of evening reading rang. Students trickled out into the hallway in small groups. Carefully, I grabbed my bag, hunched over, and ran toward the playground. Just as I reached the wall, someone suddenly grabbed my backpack. My heart nearly stopped, but it was Xu Xiao, standing behind me with a smile. Jiang Yan, where are you going so late? I tightened my grip on my bag, eyeing him warily. I have something to do. He looked down at me, a sly grin spreading across his face. You're not meeting someone from online, are you? I didn't answer. Xu Xiao continued on his own. First pepper spray, then murderer. Seems like this online friend of yours isn't very trustworthy. As he spoke, he slowly crouched down and patted his shoulder. I was confused. What are you doing? Xu Xiao looked up, his dark eyes reflecting the moonlight, and said dismissively, with those short legs of yours, how are you going to climb over without me? Xu Xiao lectured me the whole way, drilling safety awareness into me. I didn't argue, letting him follow along. The movie theater appeared ahead. At the sight of the sign, Xu Xiao became even more animated. Do you know how terrifying it is to meet a male online friend at night? And you're watching a movie together. Do you know how handsy guys can get in movie theaters? Finally, I spotted the familiar figure and called out, Grandma! Grandma, waiting at the entrance, waved back. Xu Xiao's voice abruptly cut off. I smiled at him. This is the online friend I'm secretly meeting. Scary? Xu Xiao coughed lightly and changed the subject. You skipped class just to watch a movie with your grandma. What movie? I want to watch it too. Grandma walked over with a bucket of popcorn and saw Xu Xiao. Oh, is this Jiang Yan's classmate? You're not going to the flea market either? Xu Xiao said. Huh? What flea mar? I stepped on his foot. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he subtly withdrew his foot, nodding. Yeah, I'm not going. I'm here to watch a movie. Grandma smiled too. What a coincidence. Which one are you watching? Xu Xiao replied obediently. Whichever one Jiang Yan is watching. Actually, he didn't have a ticket. I'm not sure how he managed to sneak in. But when Grandma and I found our seats, the guy was already sitting in the spot next to mine. When he saw me, he pretended to be surprised. What a coincidence, Jiang Yan. I forced a smile. I heard guys love getting handsy in movie theaters. Stay away from me. The handsome, 180-centimeter tall boy immediately feigned shyness and hugged my arm. So mean. I'm a girl, you know. Me. The movie was great. A sci-fi blockbuster with grand scenes that drew gasps and cheers from the audience. But sitting there, I couldn't immerse myself. I kept nervously checking my watch. Tick, tick, tick. The almost imperceptible movement of the second hand finally pointed to 9:30. By now, the alarm clock should have been chattering away at the bus stop. A security guard might have gone to check the bicycle shed. It should have been quiet there. No me, no rapist, and no grandma bleeding profusely. My frantically beating heart finally calmed down. I looked up, and for the first time that night, focused on the screen, clapping along with the audience. The movie ended. Grandma handed me the popcorn. Ask your classmate if he wants some, I said. He doesn't, Xu Xiao said. I do. He took the popcorn from my hand as a matter of course. Jiang Yan, you should learn from your grandma. You're way too stingy. Grandma's much nicer. Thank you, Grandma. Xu Xiao took the popcorn and prepared to leave. As we parted, Grandma even said, come visit us at home sometime. Xu Xiao grinned. Your popcorn is really delicious. Next time, can I come over for some buns? I kicked him. Get lost. The boy with the wine-red crew cut pouted. Grandma, look at her. Grandma smiled. Jiang Yan can be pretty mean, huh? Xu Xiao scampered off, shouting as he left. Yeah, you should teach her a lesson. Grandma held my hand as we boarded the bus. The bus was filled with neighbors excitedly discussing the movie. Grandma usually loved joining in the chatter, but this time she didn't participate. Instead, she smiled at me. That boy earlier. Does he like you? I instinctively denied it. No way. He's just playful. Grandma patted my head and chuckled. If he really does, that's nice too. That way, there's one more person in the world who loves our Jiang Yan. I froze. Even though she was Grandma from this timeline, it felt like she could see Jiang Yan from 2023. In the previous timeline, living alone in a small apartment, with no friends, no lover, no family, leading a life of self-imposed martyrdom. And then, Grandma from 2015 in this timeline said she hoped one more person would love me. Tears welled up again. I slid down in my seat, turned, and wrapped my arms around Grandma's waist, murmuring, Grandma, having you is enough. When the bus arrived at our stop, I glanced toward the tree roots. The alarm clock was indeed gone. It must have gone off and been dug up by an exasperated passerby who turned it off. The insurance ID set for myself hadn't been needed. And that was actually a good thing. At 10:30 p.m., I finished washing up and returned to my room. The night was deep and everything was quiet. I turned off the desk lamp and slipped under the covers. The blanket carried the familiar scent of old-fashioned soap. The cheapest Dow brand soap, costing yuan 1.50 in the autumn of 2015. Grandma would always take the soap and a scrub brush to wash the bedsheets and duvet covers in the river outside our neighborhood. The rushing water would quickly rinse away the suds. Then, on sunny days, she'd hang my bedsheet with tiger prints on the balcony. The pink tiger bounced and swayed in the wind, carrying the scent of soap pods. I slowly drifted into sleep. When a faint click sounded, I reflexively opened my eyes. The old security door, worn from years of use, creaked softly. A sound barely audible in the darkness, but one that made my hair stand on end. Instinctively, I locked the door and tried to escape through the window. Then it hit me. This wasn't my studio apartment. This was Grandma's and my home. Grandma was sleeping next door. Footsteps approached outside my door. Someone was twisting my doorknob, but the door was locked. Kneeling by the bedside table, I quickly dialed 110. Beep, beep. Those few seconds felt like an eternity. Hello. This is the 110 emergency line. I whispered urgently. Apartment 301. Unit 1. Building 7. Balsong Community. There's a home invasion. At the same moment, the sound of a lockpick came from the door, and it swung open. Moonlight fell on his face, and once again, I saw that familiar face. The uncle from upstairs. The murderer. A chill shot from the soles of my feet to the crown of my head. Where had it gone wrong? Why was he here again? He seemed surprised to find me awake and froze in the doorway for a moment. I lunged toward my desk, trembling as I pulled the pepper spray from my open backpack, unscrewed the cap, and aimed it at him. I couldn't let Grandma know. I couldn't let her wake up. I couldn't let her die in my arms again. Swallowing all my screams, I raised the bottle with shaking hands and threatened in a low voice, "Leave now, and I'll pretend nothing happened." The man only hesitated for a second before charging at me. I pressed the spray without hesitation. The stinging mist shot out. The man covered his eyes, seemingly enraged. His large hand reached for me. I kicked the chair toward him, pushing him back a few steps. The chair screeched against the floor in the darkness. I heard Grandma call my name. "Yan Yan, what's wrong?" She was awake. I didn't answer. She shuffled toward my room in her slippers. No, don't come here." Trying to hide the panic in my voice, I said, "Grandma, I'm fine. Go back to sleep." Grandma's voice faded. "Oh. Okay." My heart hammered in my chest. I kept spraying while throwing everything within reach at the man's face. But the next moment, the door opened again, and Grandma switched on the light. She was holding a kitchen knife. "Yan Yan, run!" The man turned around, his eyes bloodshot and furious. He raised a chair and hurled it at Grandma. Grandma's legs weren't steady, and she couldn't dodge in time. The chair struck her shoulder. She trembled all over but clung tightly to the knife. I screamed continuously. "Help! Unit 1, Building 7, Apartment 301. Someone's killing people. Help!" I grabbed the broom by the desk and swung it wildly at the man. The broom was quickly yanked from my hands. He pulled hard, and before I could let go, I was dragged toward him. I tried to release it, but it was too late. His eyes blood red, he wrapped his hands around my throat and squeezed. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream. My legs kicked uselessly. In that moment, my soul seemed to hover in mid-air. It was as if I had returned to the other timeline's 2015, to that awful bicycle shed, where Grandma was being choked by him, her cloth-shoed feet kicking helplessly. My vision began to blur, but the images overlapped. Jiang Yan from the other timeline's 2015 raised the fruit knife. Grandma from this timeline's 2015 raised the kitchen knife high. He released me. Just like in the other timeline, he turned around and snatched the knife from her. At the same time, he kicked Grandma behind the knee, then raised the knife and brought it down hard. Gasping for air, I crawled over, wrapped my arms around his leg, and bit down fiercely. The knife struck off target. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Frantic footsteps sounded outside the door. The voices of the old men who played chess echoed in the hallway. Was it Apartment 301 screaming? Were we finally saved? The next second, the man grunted in pain and kicked me away. He pinned me down with his knee, raised the kitchen knife, and brought it down with a snarl. A spray of blood erupted, but I felt no pain. Grandma had thrown herself in front of me, taking the blow. At the same moment, the police kicked open the security door, wrested the knife from the man's hands, and pinned him to the ground. I knelt on the floor, trembling as I pressed my hands against Grandma's neck. Why the exact same spot? The exact same unstoppable bleeding. I broke into anguished sobs. "Don't leave me, Grandma." Grandma's eyes lost focus. Her lips moved as if she wanted to say something. Trembling, I leaned my ear close and heard her whisper, "Yan Yan, run." I froze for a second, then hugged her tightly, crying uncontrollably. She raised her hand, as if wanting to wipe my tears, but it only lifted a few inches before falling limply. Outside the window, brilliant fireworks soared into the sky, their radiant light spilling across the night. The wail of an ambulance grew closer, but Grandma had already closed her eyes forever. I jolted awake. I was drenched in sweat, gasping for air. My phone screen was still lit. The Baidu map street view crisp and clear. Grandma was wearing the faded light blue shirt, hunched over, watching others play chess with great interest. I had returned to 2023. I frantically tapped my phone, trying to go back to the autumn of 2015 once more. But the phone remained unresponsive. No sudden screen flicker, no irresistible pull. My movements grew more desperate. I jabbed at the screen until finally, my hand fell limp. Please, let me go back. Please. The phone screen went black, reflecting a pale face. The face of Jiang Yan at 25. Lonely, loveless, with nothing to live for. Jiang Yan's face. A constant reminder that I couldn't save Grandma, that I was useless. I buried my head in my knees and cried silently. I thought back to that bus ride in the previous timeline, where Grandma let me cling to her, smiling as she stroked my hair. She said she wished there were more people in the world who loved me. There aren't, Grandma. There's no one. I got out of bed barefoot and walked to the bathroom, filling the tub with warm water. The way I'd planned to die many years ago could finally be put to use today. I picked up a knife and sliced through my flesh. My consciousness began to fade. There seemed to be the sound of a door opening, and someone saying, "I'm back." Probably a hallucination. Warm water continued to flow into the tub. Footsteps approached the bathroom. The person teased, "Oh, taking a nice bath in broad daylight. Looks like I'm in for a treat." What kind of hallucination could be this vivid? I struggled to open my eyes, but my eyelids felt too heavy. The door opened. The person's playful tone instantly shifted to panic and fear. Jiang Yan. So familiar. Where had I heard this voice before? When I regained consciousness, the smell of disinfectant filled my nostrils. Someone next to me was furious. "Do you know how deep that cut was? If you knew your girlfriend had depression, you should have taken better care of her. She almost died." I opened my eyes. I saw a somewhat familiar face. The red crew cut was now a tame black. The row of 7 earrings was gone. That perpetually irreverent boy had broader shoulders and stood taller, now hanging his head in silence as he was scolded. Xu Xiao in 2023. A middle-aged female doctor beside him was still berating him non-stop. With difficulty I spoke. "Don't scold him. I wanted to die." Hearing my voice, the doctor immediately looked down at me, her tone gentle. "Yan Yan, you're awake." I didn't recognize her at all. She worriedly touched my forehead. "That shouldn't be. Blood loss doesn't cause amnesia." The moment her palm touched my skin, a flood of memories rushed in. Click, click. The gears of time spun backward rapidly. New memories, like an avalanche, bury the old ones. Xu Xiao said grumpily, "Mom, you're an orthopedic surgeon. Stop pretending to be a neurologist. Go get the attending physician, will you?" Right? This woman was Xu Xiao's mother. Because of my last time travel, the causal threads had shifted. After Grandma's death, Xu Xiao kept coming to my neighborhood to see me. He said, "Your grandma told me to come visit you often." But I knew he was afraid I'd harm myself. Xu Xiao and I dated for 7 years and were about to get married. His family treated me very well, helping me with my depression and considering me one of their own. Jiang Yan in 2023 wasn't alone after all. I couldn't help but smile, but soon tears slid down my cheeks and I broke into loud sobs. In the autumn of 2015 in the previous timeline, I hadn't been able to save Grandma, but Grandma had given me a gift. She had casually planted a seed in that young boy's heart, and years later, that seed took root, grew into a tree, and sheltered her granddaughter from life's storms. I really hope there are more people in this world who love our Yan Yan. There are more people who love me now, Grandma, but you're still stuck in the autumn of 2015. Grandma, Grandma. I cried so hard I could barely breathe, and the movement tugged at my wound. Blood soon soaked through the bandages. Xu Xiao grabbed my shoulders in panic. "Yan Yan, what's wrong?" I hugged him tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. "Xu Xiao, I miss my grandma so much." My wrist was still wrapped in blood-stained bandages. Xu Xiao took me to the cemetery. It was April. The sun was bright, and birds chirped. Grandma's memorial photo faced lush green pines and cypresses, her smile kind and gentle. 3 sticks of incense stood respectfully in the incense burner. While burning paper money, Xu Xiao chattered non-stop. "Grandma, Jiang Yan cries way too easily. My mom always says I bully her. God knows, after 10 years of Muay Thai, I'm the one who gets beaten up by Jiang Yan. Please tell your granddaughter to go easy on me from now on. Tears streamed down my smiling face as I reached out with trembling fingers to gently touch Grandma's photo. Grandma, if only you could scold me again. Even if it's just in a dream. I wiped away my tears, took out my phone, opened the Baidu Maps Street View, and showed it to Xu Xiao. Look, Grandma's faded light blue shirt here is the same one in her memorial photo. She was always so frugal. Tears fell again, dripping onto the screen. I reached out to wipe them away, but then felt an irresistible force pulling me in. At this moment in 2023, time froze. Xu Xiao remained in the motion of wiping my tears, his lips slightly parted, his voice suspended. In the cemetery, the swaying tree shadows stilled, and the breeze halted mid-air. Everything rapidly shrank into an invisible point. I plummeted down, and landed in the autumn of 2015, in high school student Jiang Yan's bedroom. I opened my eyes. The alarm hadn't rung yet, but I reached out and turned it off. I rolled out of bed, pulled out my wallet from the bottom of the drawer, and emptied all the money. 379 yuan in both bills and coins. I stuffed the money into my school uniform pocket, then quickly got up to brush my teeth and wash my face. Grandma came out of the kitchen, surprised. You're actually not sleeping in today. I walked over and hugged the little old lady tightly. Tears streamed down, dripping onto my smooth, scar-free wrists. Grandma patted my back gently, just like when she sang lullabies to me as a child. The abandoned orphan had no parents, but she had a grandmother. Grandma would sing, soothing the baby to sleep. Grandma would stand in front of her granddaughter, like any parent, using her body as a shield against all the hardships of the world. But this time, let me stand in front of you. What's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? Grandma asked the exact same question as in the previous timeline. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand and smiled, splashed water in my eyes while washing my face. Grandma smiled. I made beef and vermicelli buns for you. They smell amazing. I wolfed down the buns, then remembered Xu Xiao's words and looked up. Grandma, are there any more buns? Could you pack a few for me? A Ziploc bag was filled with beef and vermicelli buns. Grandma stirred the steaming hot plain porridge with a spoon. I stuffed the last bun into my mouth and hurried out the door. This morning I absolutely could not run into the uncle from upstairs. Grandma followed behind. Not having the porridge? I turned back and hugged Grandma tightly. No, I won't. Oh, and the school has an event tonight. I'm staying at the dorm, so I won't be back. Remember to lock the door and push a chair against it. Grandma chuckled. You watch too many TV dramas. Take care of yourself. I flew down the stairs. Xijia wasn't downstairs. Nor was the black car. And certainly not the nauseating face sitting inside it. On the morning street, sanitation workers swept fallen leaves leisurely. The aunt selling glutinous rice cakes pushed her wooden cart out and snapped off a sprig of osmanthus, tucking it into a bamboo tube on the cart. And I boarded the first bus of the day. I handed the beef and vermicelli buns to Xu Xiao. He was shocked. How did you know I've been craving your breakfast for so long? Staring at his wine-red crew cut and the row of 7 glittering earrings, I thought to myself, not only do I know you want the buns, I also know you'll be a devoted husband in the future. But I said none of that. Instead, I asked, so, do you want them or not? He coughed, calmly took the buns and said, yes. Leaning on the desk, I looked into his eyes. Then come climb the wall with me at noon. Xu Xiao agreed without hesitation. At the wall, he demonstrated with a running start. Just like this, run a few steps, then push off and you're up. I said calmly. Crouch down. Xu Xiao. I said, with my short legs, climbing over alone is difficult, so I need to step on you. Xu Xiao froze, scratched his head and muttered, feels like that should be my line. But he obediently crouched by the wall. He laced his long fingers together and looked up at me. Step on my hands first, then my shoulders. Be careful not to fall. I stepped onto his shoulders. He reached up to steady my calves, then slowly stood. Just like in the previous timeline's 2015, with the most rebellious hairstyle. He did the gentlest thing. Sitting atop the wall, I reached out to him. Hurry up. But Xu Xiao hesitated. You're not taking me to meet some online friend, are you? I'm telling you, I'm not being a third wheel. I nearly laughed in frustration. The security guard will be here soon. If you don't come out fast, you'll get caught and sent to the disciplinary office. Xu Xiao was skeptical. Impossible. The guards never come to the playground during lunch break. You. Before he finished, a security guard's voice echoed from afar. Hey, you two over there. What are you doing? Xu Xiao turned in surprise, then swiftly took a running start, kicked off the wall and leaped over. Smooth and seamless. Then he opened his arms to me. Jiang Yan, jump, I'll catch. Before he finished, I jumped steadily into his arms. Xu Xiao seemed to freeze for a moment. I looked up and saw his ears turning red. Avoiding eye contact, he said, What's with you? Why aren't you more reserved? The security guard's voice came from the other side of the wall. Are they here? Yes, right here. Xu Xiao's hand, which had just released my waist, immediately grabbed my wrist again. What are you standing around for? Run! The air rushed past my ears. The wind and the guard's angry shouts were left behind as he dragged me forward in a wild sprint. In my field of vision, all I could see was that audacious red crew cut, the glittering earrings and ears so red they seemed to drip blood. Suddenly, a thought flashed through my mind. I called out softly, Xu Xiao. He responded. What? Panting, I managed to say, Have you practiced Muay Thai for a couple of years? The boy's footsteps came to an abrupt halt. I nearly crashed into him face first. His eyes were filled with surprise. How do you know? I never told anyone at school. My heart skipped a beat. I instinctively explained. But Xu Xiao cut me off, sounding utterly convinced. You have a crush on me, don't you? You've been spying on me, following me, haven't you? My heartbeat returned to normal. I kicked him in the leg. Watching his pained expression, I said irritably, Yeah, I have a crush on you. I've had a crush on you for several lifetimes. I was back in this supermarket again. This time, I didn't need to ask the sales assistant. Familiar with the layout, I went straight to the shelf and picked up the pepper spray. The price tag on this shelf was missing. Xu Xiao followed behind me and asked, What's this? I said, Pepper spray. He feigned shyness. Is it for me? Given how obsessed you are with me, I probably do need this. Thanks. As he spoke, he reached for it. I grabbed his wrist and placed a pack of a milk candy in his palm. I got this for you. Xu Xiao stared at the Yua Extra Rich label and stammered, You. How did you know? He stumbled over his words, then stiffly tried to maintain his cool persona. I don't like candy. Who likes girly stuff like this? I put the candy back on the shelf. Fine, if you don't like it. He immediately snatched it back, insisting, Since you're forcing it on me, I'll reluctantly accept it. I smiled at him. Xu Xiao, since you're eating my candy, teach me a few fighting moves, okay? Xu Xiao asked what I wanted to learn. I gestured. Imagine a situation where my opponent is much bigger than me. At first, he drags me backward. Then he pins all my limbs. Later, he pins me to the ground. Is there a moment, a technique, that would let me turn the tables? Xu Xiao's expression gradually turned serious. His dark eyes stared at me unblinkingly, filled with a scrutinizing, probing gaze that made me look away, unable to meet his eyes. Finally, Xu Xiao spoke. His tone grave. Is someone threatening you? His gaze slowly shifted downward, settling on the pepper spray in my hand, and he continued, Is someone forcing you to do things you don't want to do? I stayed silent for a long time before forcing a light laugh. Your imagination is so vivid. It's just a hypothetical. I just want to learn self-defense techniques. Xu Xiao didn't press further. He chewed the candy, his expression neutral. You have to tell me exactly how the process goes. Otherwise, I can't help you figure out the right moment or technique. The sun shone overhead, and the scent of osmanthus drifted in the air. I explained. You grabbed me from behind around the waist and dragged me back. The boy wrapped his arms around my waist. his lean, strong arms holding me tightly. Then I struggle violently, but you don't let go. You try to subdue me by any means. I started struggling, flailing my arms. Xu Xiao remained silent, gripping my waist firmly, quickly pinning my limbs. His strength felt like iron, as if he wanted to crush me. I struggled with all my might. His fingers accidentally brushed against my ribcage, and he froze. Carefully, he moved his hand away, only gripping my arms. Unaware, I continued. Next, you drag me to the side. Pin me down with your knee, and tie my hands with rope. Xu Xiao's arm muscles tensed as he grabbed my shoulders, flipped me over, and pinned me hard against the corner. The impact made me cough. But I still praised him. Yes, just like that. Don't hold back. His knee came down. At the moment before it pressed against my chest, he let go. I stared at him, puzzled. Why did you let go? He looked away, said nothing, and just reached out to help me up. I can't do it, Jiang Yan, he said. I was confused. Can't do what? Xu Xiao clenched his fists, sounding frustrated. I can't hurt you. He grabbed my arm, pushed up my school uniform sleeve, revealing red, swollen skin. Xu Xiao's breathing grew rapid. After a long moment, he said, I'm sorry. I wanted to say it didn't hurt at all, that he was actually helping me. But I couldn't say it. Just as he couldn't bring himself to hurt me, I couldn't force him to be rough with me. A gentle breeze carried the chirping of birds. The boy with the rebellious hair color stood there apologetically, hands hanging at his sides, fingers nervously tugging at the hem of his shirt. I sat down on the ground, muttering to myself, people in this world really come in all kinds, huh? I looked up at the osmanthus tree. A bird perched on a branch took flight, and its wings shook loose a shower of golden petals. Instinctively, I reached out to catch them. It was as if the sunset had shattered into pieces, falling into my palm. Bright, fragrant, symbolizing love and beauty. Staring at the petals in my hand, I murmured, there are absolutely evil people and there are kind people like you. I think this world is still worth hoping for. Finally, Xu Xiao spoke. What exactly have you been through? With effort, I looked up at him standing over me. His jawline was sharp and clear, like young bamboo just beginning to grow, or a blade waiting to be unsheathed. I pulled him down to sit beside me, shoulder to shoulder, gazing at the slowly setting sun in the distance. I said abruptly, Xu Xiao, I really do like you quite a bit. As expected, he dropped the previous topic. The corner of his mouth lifted suspiciously as he said smugly, of course. The line of people chasing me stretches from Mohi to Zhengmu Ensha. You have good taste. I clapped my hands and stood up. Handsome, let's head back to school. He stood up too. Where are you going? I started walking slowly forward, waving at him. If I remembered correctly, there was an internet cafe around the corner to the left. Maybe I could find teaching videos on Qin Hegao's no rules combat there. If Xu Xiao wouldn't teach me, I'd learn on my own. Even if it might get me killed. At least Grandma wouldn't die. My watch showed 9:20 p.m. at the last crossroad. I waved goodbye to my good friend. My backpack was light, carrying only a can of pepper spray. A cold fruit knife was tucked into my boot, already warmed by my body heat. Before stepping into that dark alley, I had one more thing to do. She turned left and I turned right, heading into a convenience store to call 110. There seems to be an unidentified explosive device in the bicycle shed at Building 7. Baosong Community. Please come quickly. Under the shop owner's bewildered gaze, I paid 1 yuan and left. Yes, I could only come up with a bizarre excuse. Because, in this timeline, I couldn't be seen as crazy. I glanced nervously at my watch. The police station was nearby. Would 10 minutes be enough for a patrol car to arrive? I needed to fight the rapist until the police arrived, solidifying his attempted rape of a minor and sending him to prison. To ensure he'd never have another chance to pick locks, to keep his disgusting desires buried in darkness. 3 minutes later, I was about to enter the alley. I took a deep breath. The streetlights flickered a few times, then went completely dark. I stepped forward, accurately planting my foot in the puddle. A violent force grabbed me from behind, arms wrapping tightly around my waist, dragging me backward. I struggled fiercely. Dogs barked in unison, trapped behind security doors. I stopped struggling, reached down and pulled the fruit knife from my boot. The warm blade caught a sliver of moonlight. The person behind me froze, instinctively reaching for the knife. But it was too late. I swung the knife toward his throat. He desperately dodged backward. And the first seized the chance to run. The man suddenly changed direction, chasing after me. He grabbed a bicycle nearby and hurled it at me. It hit my shoulder, and my arm went numb. The fruit knife clattered to the ground, falling into a drain. My backpack fell, spilling colorful little items everywhere. I crawled over and grabbed the pepper spray. At the same time, the man raised the bicycle and brought it down toward my head. Sharp pain shot through my scalp. I struggled to open my eyes, feeling my eyelids stuck together with blood. The man spat, grabbed my hair, dragged me to a corner of the bicycle shed, and began tearing at my school uniform. His foul, hot breath fell on my neck. His slimy, disgusting hands groped downward. He unbuckled his belt, yanked down my pants, and let out a satisfied sigh. He said, "You're finally mine." Numb and helpless, I clawed at his neck, finally looking toward the window of Unit 301. Building 7. The light was off. Good. Grandma knew I wasn't coming home tonight. She must have gone to the movies with the neighbors. Good. She wouldn't have her throat slit. I'd still won this battle. Even if the cost was worse than I'd imagined. If it meant saving Grandma, any price was worth it. I closed my eyes, waiting for the police sirens. A dull thud. The man's eyes widened. He fell heavily backward, his ugly organ going limp, disgusting. Terrified, I looked up. Through blood-caked eyelashes, I saw someone standing behind him, holding a blood-stained baseball bat. Gentle moonlight streamed down, illuminating the 7 earrings in his right ear. Xu Xiao. Inexplicable panic pinned me to the ground. Xu Xiao. Why was it Xu Xiao? He stared at the half-naked body, his usually playful, smiling eyes now holding a trace of cold, murderous intent. I wouldn't even dare touch her. How dare you? He raised the bat again. I crawled over and hugged his leg. Xu Xiao, don't! The boy looked down, his dark eyes fixed on me. Tears streamed down. Choking back sobs, I said, "The police will be here soon. You can't kill him. You can't go to prison. Give me the bat. You have to leave." Trembling, I checked the man's pulse. No breath. Why? Why was there no pulse? I clenched my fists tightly, screaming at Xu Xiao, "Get out of here. Now!" Xu Xiao didn't move. He took off his school uniform jacket and wrapped it around my exposed, bruised shoulders. The jacket still held his warmth, my final shelter tonight. He reached out to help me up, his thumb wiping the blood from my face. His hands trembled with pain. "So this is what you were going through, Jiang Yan." Tears blurred my vision. I couldn't hold back anymore and broke into loud sobs. Xu Xiao pressed my face against his chest, so every tear fell onto his shirt. "You shouldn't have come," I whimpered. Xu Xiao said softly, "Jiang Yan, I'm not as dumb as you think. Did you really think I wouldn't notice you were preoccupied all day? Next time you lie, make it more convincing." Fireworks soared into the sky from the city center, bursting into dazzling colors. In the remote, bloody bicycle shed, only the 2 of us remained, holding each other in lonely embrace. Police sirens wailed in the distance. I jolted awake, pushing him away desperately. "Can't you hear the sirens? The police are coming. You have to leave. None of this was supposed to involve you. This is my fate, Jiang Yan's fate. It has nothing to do with you." But Xu Xiao didn't budge. He held me tightly as I thrashed. I cried, begging him, "Please, just go, okay? Please." A warm tear fell onto my neck. I froze. He choked out, "I can't, Jiang Yan." I looked up, crying in despair. I had used myself as bait, planning what I thought was a clever trap. And this boy, knowing nothing but driven by sheer courage, charged into the game without hesitation to pull me out. The chessboard was shattered, and he was dragged into this heartbreaking causality. Heavens, I give up. I can't win against you. But could you please spare Xu Xiao? During the police interrogation, I only said, "Xu Xiao acted heroically." I pulled open my collar, rolled up my sleeves, and lowered my head to show the 7 stitches on my scalp, displaying the bruises, swelling, and injuries. Wang Weiqiang tried to rape me. If it weren't for Xu Xiao, I might have died. The female police officer looked away, her tone gentle. At 9:20 p.m., the emergency line received a call about an unidentified explosive device. "That was you, right?" I said. "Yes." "Yes, I had a terrifying nightmare last night that the neighborhood would be blown up at 9:30 tonight." She looked at me. "Just because of a dream?" I forced a smile. "What else? Could I predict the future and know I'd be assaulted at 9:30? If you've done your investigation, you should know that before tonight, I had no personal interaction with the neighbor upstairs." She fell silent briefly, then changed the subject. "Why did you have pepper spray in your bag?" I said. "Because I have paranoia." She paused, then asked, "Why did Xu Xiao suddenly appear?" After a long silence, I said, "I don't know. You should ask him." In the interrogation room next door, Xu Xiao sat in a chair, answering the same question. "I have a crush on Jiang Yan. I wanted to confess to her." "Then why were you carrying a baseball bat?" Xu Xiao said. "Because I'm good at sports. I wanted to show off my skills to her. When you like someone, you can't help but show off. That's a weak reason." Xu Xiao suddenly laughed. "Then what reason do you want? Could I predict the future and know that bastard would attack tonight?" He leaned forward, fingers interlaced, a hint of mockery in his tone. "If I could really predict the future, I wouldn't have waited until now." The security camera at the entrance of Unit 1, Building 7, which usually had faulty wiring, miraculously worked tonight. It recorded a 47-second video. A tall, strong man raised a bicycle and smashed it toward a girl's head, blood spraying instantly. The girl stopped struggling. The man unbuckled his belt, pulled down the girl's pants, and was about to commit the crime. Then, a tall, silent figure from behind raised a baseball bat and swung it down hard. Meanwhile, the police found Wang Weiqiang's laptop at his home. On it was a private account unknown to others, filled with his filthy thoughts about the 17-year-old girl living downstairs. He had deliberately tampered with the streetlight circuit. He intended to finish her. He wanted to make her his flower, forever his. Xu Xiao's father was a well-known criminal defense lawyer. He took on Xu Xiao's case. Xu's father argued that Xu Xiao's actions constituted defensive acts against ongoing violent rape and should be recognized as heroic intervention and justifiable defense. The court rejected this, based on the surveillance footage, on-site evidence, and witness testimonies. The court held that, at the moment of rescuing the victim, Xu Xiao did not verbally warn the perpetrator, but directly used violence. This constituted excessive defense and suspected intentional homicide. Since he was over 16 but under 18, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Xu's father refused to accept the verdict and immediately appealed, but the second trial upheld the original sentence. 6 years, 2,192 days. The best years of his youth would be spent behind prison walls. I saved Grandmama. He saved me. And he himself was beyond saving. That day, sitting in the witness stand, I heard the judge's final pronouncement. The gavel fell with a dull thud, as if striking my chest, forcing me to face the hopeless reality. I couldn't win against fate. In that moment, I broke down crying uncontrollably, gasping for air, my throat choked with tears, my vision blurred. All eyes in the courtroom were on me, but I couldn't care. The overwhelming guilt and despair threatened to drown me, and the boy who had remained stiff and unmoving throughout the entire trial suddenly glanced at me. He even managed a faint smile, mouthing silently, "Jiang Yan, don't cry." The widely publicized teenagers' counter-kill case came to an end. Debates over the boundaries between justifiable defense and excessive defense continued to stir legal circles for a long time. Countless experts, scholars, and ordinary people, whether upholding legal principles or driven by simple morality, engaged in prolonged discussions on the topic. Reporters tried to interview me, but with the help of Xu Xiao's parents, Grandma and I moved away. Away from the reporters, and away from the morning lanterns lit by the neighbors upstairs. On a clear day, my application was finally approved. I went to the detention center to visit Xu Xiao. His red crew cut was dyed black. The 7 shiny earrings were gone. He sat behind the glass in an orange vest, calm. Seeing me, he even smiled, seeming no different from before. But no one could ignore the handcuffs on his wrists. I had promised myself not to lose control in front of him. But just one look, and tears streamed down uncontrollably. I choked up, unable to speak. Finally, Xu Xiao spoke first, his tone lazy. "Jiang Yan, why do you always cry? I won't be around to wipe your tears anymore." Tears flowed even more. I hurriedly grabbed tissues to cover my eyes. I said, "I'm sorry." Xu Xiao said, "Don't be silly. You didn't wrong anyone. Others wronged you." I rested my forehead on the table, shoulders shaking violently, tears falling onto my knees. He called my name softly. "Can you look up? I want to see you." I quickly wiped my tears and met his gaze silently. Xu Xiao stared at me for a long moment, then suddenly smiled. "Are all your injuries healed?" I replied, "They were just superficial. They healed quickly." He nodded, then asked, "This won't affect your studies, right? I remember you wanted to get into Tsinghua." He was the one who lost his chance at the college entrance exam. Why could he so lightly care only about my future? I took a deep breath, struggling to hold back the tears threatening to surge again. Then I spoke. "Xu Xiao, is there something I never told you? I like you very much." Xu Xiao was momentarily stunned, but he quickly smiled. "Jiang Yan, you're so silly. You told me that afternoon." I pressed against the glass eagerly. I didn't make it clear that day. I really, truly. A guard cleared his throat. "Time's up." Xu Xiao stood up. He was already at the door but turned back. Casually, he said, "Jiang Yan, let me tell you a secret too. Actually, I like a senior in 12th grade. Saving you was just a coincidence. Don't go thinking about giving yourself to me or staying loyal or anything." I nodded, smiling easily. "Of course. I know you like someone else." The door closed. He was gone. My back slid slowly down the wall until I was sitting on the floor, finally able to cry out loud. Xu Xiao of 2015, you probably don't know this. In another timeline, the 2023 version of you, who loved me for years, once proudly showed me your high school blog. It contained 13 long posts, recording your secret crush starting from 2014. The girl you liked sat in the 3rd row, and loved beef and vermicelli buns. You dyed your hair red and got a row of earrings to get her attention, but she never noticed. Your friends urged you to confess, but you felt you couldn't distract her from getting into Tsinghua. So your relationship was limited to the 3rd row and the last row. Your names occasionally overlapping when collecting test papers from back to front. Until that afternoon, when she suddenly appeared in front of you, asking if you could teach her to climb the wall. Outwardly calm, inside, 100 little versions of you were dancing. Her name was Jiang Yan. Grandma didn't pass away, and I remained in this timeline for a long time. When filling out college applications after the Gaokao, I chose only law-related majors. In the end, I got my wish and was admitted to China University of Political Science and Law. While others were focused on grades and campus activities, I worked with a white-haired professor, specializing in sentencing issues related to excessive defense and justifiable defense. Several times, I applied to visit Xu Xiao, only to be told that the inmate refused to see me. I remembered his earlier hint for me to forget him and pursue a passionate relationship. How could that ever be possible? Xu Xiao, between you and me, it wasn't just the brief classmate bond from 2014 to 2015. Between us lies a love spanning over a decade across 4 timelines, and a life I owe you. I shuttled daily between the library and professors' offices, rejecting any ambiguous relationships. My roommate joked that my heart was as still as a nun's, but only I knew I was atoning. While Xu Xiao served his sentence behind high walls, I turned myself into a moving prison. He wouldn't see me, but I had my own way of staying with him. In the autumn of 2018, my city was finally included in Baidu Maps Street View. I opened the long-unused feature. In the summer of 2015, outside Baosong community, there was an aunt pushing a wooden cart selling cold drinks and a tilting magnolia tree. No grandma in her light blue shirt. No elderly men playing chess. Everything had changed. Starting from that autumn when Xu Xiao struck the man with a bat, the branches of fate diverged. Countless fresh sprouts grew, vines entangled, spreading out into a new storyline. Hesitantly, I entered a new address. Binhai City No. 2 High School. The screen jumped and shifted, finally stabilizing clearly. By the outer wall of No. 2 High School, there was a familiar pair of figures. A boy with a red crew cut, a girl with a high ponytail. The boy grabbed the girl's wrist and sprinted forward, the hem of his school uniform flying boldly in the air. That was the autumn of 2015. Xu Xiao and me. He looked back with a smile, radiant with confidence, his profile reflecting a stunning arc in the sunlight. So handsome, so brilliant. But such a radiant person would have to endure 6 years of his youth behind high walls. Tears blurred my vision again, and I frantically wiped them away. It was as if a voice in the ether was telling me, Jiang Yan, you must pull yourself together. You must think. You must ponder. My mind raced, and fate favored me in that moment. I bit my lip, feeling the spider silk thin connections in the void, which I now grasped firmly in my hand. In the 2015 of this timeline, Grandma didn't die, so her image wasn't captured in the street view. In the 2015 of this timeline, the one whose fate changed drastically was Xu Xiao, so he appeared in the street view. If I could return from the autumn of 2023 to the autumn of 2015 to save Grandma, then could I return from the autumn of 2018 to the autumn of 2015 to save Xu Xiao? My heart pounded violently as I tried to recall the vortex of time from years ago. What had I done back then to trigger that irresistible pull of fate? Tears slowly slid down as I reached out to touch the screen. A tremendous force swept from my fingertips through my entire body. Time and space stopped flowing. I plummeted down, to fulfill the predetermined fate belonging to Jiang Yan. Autumn 2015. High school student Jiang Yan's bedroom. I opened my eyes and skillfully turned off the alarm before it rang. Grandma placed the beef and vermicelli buns on the dining table. I rushed over with a smile and gave the little old lady a solid hug. Startled, she then hugged me back lovingly. What's this? So sentimental? The school has an event tonight. All students are staying over. I won't be home tonight. She nodded and brought out plain porridge for me. I drank most of it without minding the heat. Then looked up. Grandma, could you pack a few buns for me to take to school? I have a classmate who really wants to try your buns. Grandma's eyes crinkled into smiles. Really? Carrying the bag of buns, I bounded down the stairs 2 at a time, waving goodbye to the little old lady. This time, I didn't hug Grandma with reluctance, because I knew this time I would definitely return alive. Getting off the bus, entering the classroom, heading to the back row. The group of boys discussing basketball and games fell strangely silent. The boy with the red crew cut in the center suddenly pursed his lips nervously. Morning sunlight spilled down, making his 7 earrings gleam. My radiant 17-year-old Xu Xiao. Tears welled up again. Finally, I walked up to him, smiling through tears. These are buns my grandma made. For you. Xu Xiao shot to his feet, the chair legs scraping loudly against the floor. He seemed flustered, holding the still warm buns, momentarily speechless. His friends started laughing and teasing. Oh ho, looks like someone's nervous. I haven't had breakfast either. Can I have some? Xu Xiao snapped back to reality, swatting away the eager hands and shielding the buns. Get lost, all of you. These are mine, I said softly. Xu Xiao, since you're eating my buns, could you help me with something? He suddenly froze, looking as if he'd seen a ghost, exclaiming, What the? I think I dreamed this exact conversation yesterday. I stared at him unblinkingly. I wanted to memorize every vivid expression, every exaggerated gesture. For the Xu Xiao and Jiang Yan separated by prison walls in that late autumn. He finally calmed down, cleared his throat, and said, What kind of help? Tell me. I smiled. I heard your dad is a famous criminal defense lawyer. If one day my family or I get involved in a criminal case, could he represent us? Xu Xiao looked at me suspiciously. I never told anyone at school about my parents. How do you know? I didn't answer. He slapped his thigh, convinced. You have a crush on me, don't you? You've been spying on me, following me, right? Familiar lines, familiar narcissism. Tears threatened again. Suppressing the sob in my voice, I said, Yeah, I have a crush on you. Have for several lifetimes. Xu Xiao suddenly panicked, grabbing a huge wad of tissues from his deskmate and stuffing them into my hands. Why are you crying? Don't cry, I'll help you, okay? After first period, I called the neighborhood committee, telling them that city officials would be spot-checking community infrastructure tonight, with surveillance cameras being a key focus. At noon, I didn't climb the wall. During evening reading, I didn't climb the wall. When the dismissal bell rang, I recited the difference between justifiable defense and excessive defense one last time. Then, I slipped the fruit knife into my boot. At the last crossroad, my good friend turned left and I followed her left. She went left, I went right, into a convenience store to call 110. There seems to be an unidentified explosive device in the bicycle shed at Building 7, Baosong Community. Please dispatch officers immediately, or the entire residential building might be destroyed. Under the shop owner's incredulous gaze, I paid 1 yuan and left. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. 7 minutes passed. At 9:27 p.m., I entered the alley. The streetlights flickered a few times, then went completely dark. I stepped forward, accurately planting my foot in the puddle. A violent force grabbed me from behind, arms wrapping tightly around my waist, dragging me backward. I struggled violently, causing him to leave more bruises on me. He slapped me across the face, then pinned my limbs, dragging me to a corner of the bicycle shed. I saw it the sometimes working, sometimes not surveillance camera now lit with a tiny red dot, silently watching from above. And the window of Unit 301, Building 7 in the distance was dark. Grandma was at the movies. Just like in the previous timeline, she would be safe. In my heart, I slowly smiled. A tearing sound as my jacket was ripped open. The man frantically unbuckled his belt and yanked down my pants. My skin exposed to the cold air, then repeatedly groped by hot hands. He eagerly lowered his head, seeking entry. The 5 elements of justifiable defense I'd recited all afternoon flooded my mind. The unlawful infringement exists. The unlawful infringement is ongoing. The defender has the intent to defend. The defense targets the infringer. The defense does not obviously exceed necessary limits. I would do it. I curled my leg, reached down, and pulled the fruit knife from my boot. The blade caught a sliver of light. I stabbed down hard. He instinctively dodged to the right. The knife tip was already waiting there, as if predicted. In a slow-motion replay of 1,000th of a second, it looked as if he'd thrown himself onto the knife. Blood gushed out. I pulled the gag from my mouth and started screaming desperately. The camera wouldn't see the joyous, frenzied, murderous intent in my heart. I even dropped the knife, frantically trying to check his wound, even though I knew the stab was in the exact same spot as Grandma's neck wound before. Back then, Grandma couldn't be saved. Now, he would certainly die. Police sirens wailed in the distance. I closed my eyes, collapsing weakly to the side, tears flowing slowly. The news of 17-year-old high school girl kills rapist in self-defense exploded like a thunderclap, sparking heated discussion across society. On buses, in breakfast shops, malls, on phones, on TV, everywhere. Discussions about the case could be heard. News programs rushed to plan special features overnight. Reporters took to the streets for random interviews. What's your opinion on this case? A mother holding a child was furious. Rapists are beasts. They deserve to die. A grandfather playing chess skillfully used newly learned buzzwords. That beast planned murder. That girl was acting in self-defense. She was protecting herself. An aunt pushing a wooden cart selling glutinous rice cakes shouted through a megaphone. I know that girl. She's a good kid. She can't go to jail. The camera wobbled, stopping in front of a boy with a red crew cut. A microphone was held out to him. His lips were dry. After a long silence, he finally said, She's already a victim. She can't be victimized again. Our country's laws are meant to protect justice, aren't they? The Binjiang Provincial Procuratorate attached great importance to this case, assigning dedicated personnel to review the files and comprehensively examine the facts and evidence. involving a minor and touching on the hottest topic in recent years: the boundary between justifiable defense and excessive defense. The court decided twice to postpone the trial. Xu Xiao's father took on my case, defending me pro bono. 3 months later, the court issued its verdict. It held that Jiang Yan's act of resisting with a fruit knife was a self-defense action taken to protect her personal safety against an ongoing unlawful infringement. It complied with Article 20, Paragraph 1 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China, constituted justifiable defense, and she bore no criminal responsibility according to law. Society widely praised the ruling, believing it fully demonstrated the principle that the law cannot yield to unlawfulness, strengthening public faith in the rule of law. The day I walked out of the detention center, it was snowing in Binhe City. Grandma hurried toward me, holding an umbrella. There was no terrifying scar on her neck, and her smile was as warm as ever. Tears instantly blurred my vision. I reached out to touch the snow by the roadside. Only this bone-chilling cold could confirm that I had truly succeeded. I had rescued the 2 people I loved most from the unpredictable, powerful gears of fate. Trembling, I pressed my icy fingers to my face. Scalding hot tears flowed down, stinging my skin. Grandma reached me. Seeing me cry, her eyes reddened too. The little old lady wiped my tears with tissues while choking up. "Yan Yan, don't cry. The hardship is over. It's good you're out." I just murmured, "Grandma, it wasn't hardship. I was so lucky." An ordinary person, not all-knowing or all-powerful, was accidentally pulled into a time vortex. I failed repeatedly, fell repeatedly, fighting against heaven like an ant, only to be ruthlessly crushed like an ant. But I had the chance to start over. Each cycle of despair and breakdown seemed like an opportunity to wipe my tears, grit my teeth, learn from experience, and once more launch a mantis trying to stop a chariot assault against fate. Among countless causal threads destined to fail, I actually stumbled upon that 1 in 1,000 possibility of success. What incredible luck was that? Grandma didn't know my inner thoughts. The little old lady kept thanking the female officer who saw me out. The officer seemed a bit embarrassed, saying softly, "Auntie, no need to thank me. Your girl is strong, and the country's laws are powerful." After a few pleasantries, she turned and went back inside. But Grandma wasn't in a hurry to leave. She gestured for me to hold the umbrella while she pulled out a newly knitted scarf from her bag, wrapping it around my neck layer by layer. Warm, tightly knit stitches shielding me from the cold wind. She looked left and right, smiling with satisfaction. "So pretty. Come on, Yan Yan, let's go home." We trudged through the snow, step by step. She chatted about what had happened outside during my detention. The grandpas in the next unit stopped playing chess, glued to the TV for updates, cursing that beast surnamed Wang for being inhuman and deserving death. The streetlights in the community were fixed, new bulbs shining so brightly that the old lady on the first floor strongly protested. A one-touch alarm device was installed in the alley. Countless similar devices spread to every corner of the city, silently building a safety net. And also, Grandma suddenly stopped. I followed her gaze. A boy in a bright red down jacket stood holding an umbrella in the snowy landscape, silently watching me. Xu Xiao still had his unruly red hair and, during class hours, had skipped school to be here. He wasn't holding that blood-stained baseball bat, nor was he locked behind high walls. He was still that boy who did as he pleased, free and unrestrained, racing through the torrent of time, unchanged. So good. In this contest with fate, I had saved him. Grandma said with a smile, "Also, your classmate said his parents work hard, so he pays me for meals every month, and comes over for breakfast and supper every day." Tears inexplicably welled up. I suddenly thought of Xu Xiao from a certain 2023 timeline. Outwardly cold, arrogant young master. Inwardly attentive, devoted husband. When I went on long business trips abroad, he would visit my grandma's place for meals every few days. He said he needed Grandma to take care of him, but really he was keeping her company during lonely times. "Xu Xiao, you really haven't changed a bit." I asked Grandma. "If I said I wanted to date someone, would you object?" How sharp-eyed the little old lady was. Her gaze moved between me and Xu Xiao until the boy's ears turned completely red, and I was about to cave. Only then did she say with a smile, "No, I wouldn't. If there could be one more person in the world who loves Jiang Yan, that would be wonderful. Different timelines, same wish." Tearfully, I hugged the little old lady, but she playfully pushed me away. "Don't you need to thank someone else? He begged his father to take your case. Have you even thanked him?" I was speechless. Just then, a bus stopped. Grandma slowly boarded, waving at me. "Jiang Yan, I'm taking the umbrella. Don't get snowed on. Invite him home for dinner tonight. Grandma will make pork rib soup." The bus drove away. I had no umbrella. The one with the umbrella was the boy across the street. I took a deep breath and ran towards Xu Xiao. He silently tilted the umbrella toward me, perfectly shielding me from all wind and snow. Catching my breath, I said, "I have something to tell you." He looked at me. "I have something to tell you too." I jumped anxiously. "Let me go first." "Actually, I've liked you for a long time," Xu Xiao said. "I had a very long dream. I dreamed we loved each other for many years." My words choked in my throat. In the howling wind, I heard him say, "I dreamed I appeared where you were attacked. I raised a bat and killed that rapist." I clutched my chest, looking up at him helplessly. The boy looked down at me with pain, reaching out to touch my cheek. "Your face was covered in blood. You cried, begging me to run." I didn't run. And then, I was locked up in prison. Finally, I found my voice. "Xu Xiao, that was just a dream." His dark eyes stared at me unblinkingly. Suddenly he dropped the umbrella, cupped my face and kissed me deeply. I reflexively wrapped my arms around his waist. And then I heard him say, "I wish it weren't a dream. That night, I wish I could have stood in front of you." A warm tear fell onto my neck. I froze. Then tears slid from the corners of my eyes too. "Xu Xiao, you fool. You already stood in front of me long ago. You just forgot." That day, snowflakes drifted, the temperature the lowest of the year in Binhai City. But I felt a warmth in my heart like never before. Xu Xiao bought a long string of firecrackers, laying them from one end of the alley to the other. They crackled and popped, scattering joy all over the ground. The neighborhood committee rushed out to manage the noise, but seeing Grandma and me laughing and jumping, they silently retreated. Neighbors leaned out of their windows, shouting, "Jiang Yan, welcome home." Xu Xiao answered loudly for me, "Grandpa, Happy New Year." Actually, the new year was still far away. Inside the house, a steaming hot pot of pork ribs was set up. Grandma, unusually, allowed me to drink. 3 glasses clinked together, producing a pleasant, clear sound. On January 27, 2016, spanning 5 timelines, 18-year-old Jiang Yan got drunk, hugging Grandma with her left arm and Xu Xiao with her right, suddenly bursting into loud sobs, uttering drunken words like, "You're both alive." Yes, they were both alive. They would live long, worry-free lives. You know, fate often speaks to people in riddles. But until the riddle is solved, you never know if you're the winner. So please run bravely. Even the most ordinary person can have their moment of heroism. And fate rewards heroes generously. Loved ones always by your side. Dawn and dusk bathed in light. End.